one of the close bond with the Commonwealth. This is where the Guard of Honour and the band and bugles of the Rifles are standing by. And here we have just a quick glimpse there of the Defence Advisors of the Commonwealth, Canada, New Zealand, Australia and Trinidad and Tobago. Let's stay on these wonderful images, and with me Robert Hardman, the distinguished royal writer, the writer of Daily Mail, and author who's with me, and I'm pleased to say that Katie Nicholl, also a distinguished commentator and journalist who's an expert in these matters, is also with us. Katie and Robert, so nice to have you with us. Thank you so much. And you join us, of course, at a very solemn, poignant moment. We're taking in the beauty of the scene, because it is a beautiful scene. We're taking in the colour and the pageantry of this element of the day, but we are preparing ourselves for what is without doubt the most solemn part of the day, which will be the funeral procession. We haven't seen Her Majesty the Queen or any members of the royal family yet, and clearly when that happens, and when the band of the Grenadier Guards sounds the great drumbeat for the funeral procession to start, we will be remaining silent at that point to take in the scene as it happens. So, Katie and Robert, as we look at Windsor Castle there, and as we look at the quadrangle, just your thoughts, Robert, on what viewers should now be focusing on in the next, let's say, 15-20 minutes or so.
Thank you, Hugh. Well, I think everyone should know that every single element of what you're seeing there, that magnificent sight of the Upper Ward, every aspect of this has been thought through by the Duke himself. He's given immense care to ensure that every aspect, I mean, the carriage there, we just heard about, I mean, that's a lovely touch. But that also reflects on a whole life devoted to horses. This is a former president of the International Equestrian Federation. Every single one of those soldiers, sailors, airmen and women are from a unit that he was closely attached to. And if ever they were in action, in trouble of any sort, they could always rely, and in fact would always receive letters and inquiries from a man who was more than a figurehead. He was very much part of the unit.
Katie, we were talking earlier about the family watching all of this, lots of them probably, hearing it certainly from inside the castle. The cars just pulling up, and these are really for the first of the royal attendees. So we're talking about Zara and Mike Tyndall, we're talking about Princess Beatrice and her husband, and Princess Eugenie and her husband, daughters of the Duke of York, and Countess of Wessex, and Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor, and Viscount Severn. That's the first group that we have of the family. Just some thought, Katie, about, you know, a small congregation. It's a family funeral. It's nothing like a royal funeral as we'd see in previous occasions. What are your thoughts on what the family will be thinking at this stage as they prepare to join this procession?
Well, it's been a very long and a very sad week for the royal family, and as Robert was saying, everything has been planned in meticulous detail. The Duke himself oversaw to the letter what was going to happen today, but still this is a family in grieving, a family in mourning, and a family really reunited in grief. They haven't been together for over a year. It's a very sorry occasion that this is what is bringing them together, but this is going to be a moment for them also to reflect and to appreciate that the Duke's wishes are being recognised in this fitting final farewell. And as you say, the colours are beautiful. It's a beautiful day here in Windsor. It's a very fitting tribute.
But we think about who's here and who's not here, unable to be here. We're told, for example, that the Duchess of Sussex is certainly watching from home in the United States. She was hopeful to attend, and we're being told that sadly she wasn't cleared for travel by her physician at this stage, so that's a notable absence.
That's right.
But of course, the Duke of Sussex certainly will be here, and it will be interesting as well to see how that procession forms up and what the various movements are as they get ready to process.
Well, that's right, and the Duchess of Sussex, as you say, will be watching from her home in California. There is a wreath that is going to be laid from the couple, with a handwritten tribute from the Duchess of Sussex as well. But yes, this is Harry's homecoming and the first time he's been back in the United Kingdom since he stood down from official royal duties. So it is not the homecoming that he would have wanted, but one that he needed to be here for nonetheless.
So we're back at the quadrangle, the upper ward, and we've had the Duke of Kent, of course the cousin of the Queen, who's just left, and the Duke of Gloucester too, and now we have more members of the royal family who are making their way. And really we're waiting for the final kind of construction of this procession, which involves the band of the Grenadier Guards. It involves the very senior members of the military. We spoke earlier to the Major General. We mentioned the Brigade Major. We'll have the Chiefs of the Armed Forces here. We of course will have the Prince of Wales and senior members of the royal family, and then some members of the Duke of Edinburgh's staff, and finally, just before the procession sets off, the Queen will join the procession, and that will be the moment where I think the nation draws breath. Robert.
Absolutely. I mean, this for her, her great former private secretary, Lord Charteris, once said that the three most important things to the Queen are good health, strong faith, and Prince Philip. And here we see members of the family, immediate family, starting to head off.
Duchess of Cambridge.
Yes, I was just about to say, we've just seen the Duchess of Cambridge get into one of those cars. We obviously won't be seeing the Cambridge children here, they are too little to be. We've only got 2 great-grandchildren. So actually I think I'm correct in saying that this is the Duchess of Cambridge's first royal funeral that she has attended, so this will be a first for her.
What we'll have in a short while is the music. The Tri-Service Band will be playing in the quadrangle itself. That's a magnificent selection of music. This is what's known as the Galilee entrance, the Galilee porch, the entrance into St George's Chapel, into the deanery. There we have Princess Beatrice and her husband, and Princess Eugenie we just saw going in, and being greeted by the Dean of Windsor, David Connor, who is in charge of this service. A little word of explanation here, because we will see the Archbishop of Canterbury, who gives the blessing at the end of the service, but St George's Chapel is part of a certain category, a special category of royal places of worship, what is known as part of a royal peculiar. These churches, these places of worship, are the sovereign's own places of worship. They're not part of the formal structure in terms of authority of the Church of England. So, just to put it another way, the Dean of Windsor is the boss here. It is not the Archbishop of Canterbury, and some people watching might wonder why the Archbishop is taking, frankly, a bit of a back seat in effect. He will be giving the reading, and he will be giving the blessing, but the Dean is very much in charge.
Absolutely, Hugh. The Dean has now been here for more than 20 years. I mean, this is the spiritual home of the monarchy. All over this castle, everywhere, you see the cross of St George, and it's why it's called St George's Chapel. It's why St George is the patron saint of England. It all goes back to this